This is how you get rid of sugar cravings on a carnivore diet. Hey, what's shaking bacon? My name's Bruno Panucci. I hope you're doing well. So I went through horrible sugar cravings whenever I would try and do a carnivore diet. I was horribly addicted to sugar. It ruled my life. It truly did. It got to the point where I was feeling so bad from having so much sugar on a regular basis, on top of the fact that I got up to 465 pounds and I'm now down to just over 300 pounds. I had some serious health conditions that I was dealing with as well, a lot, all at once, and the most major one was a heart attack, and a very serious heart attack, as a 100% blockage in my right coronary artery. Now, if a video like this can help you to manage your sugar cravings so that you can prevent that damage from happening, because this is how it works. Sugar causes inflammation in the body. Well, how does that happen? Your blood sugar goes up. And once your blood sugar goes up, your insulin has to go up. Your insulin is a hormone and it helps to manage your blood sugar and lower it. Chronically high blood sugar is dangerous. It causes systemic inflammation in the body. And specifically when it comes to heart disease, it's been linked to causing all that damage in the arterial walls. The cholesterol theory is an old theory that's gone the way of the dodo. Not only was it not ever a proven theory, it's been proven wrong in most recent years. So what you have to do is you want to keep blood sugar under control. You want to keep that managed. And it's difficult to do when you're going through sugar and carbohydrate cravings. It's an addiction. It can be an addictive quality for some people. Is sugar addictive, or are we just addicted to sugar? Well, we're not going to get a real answer in this world that we live in, because no one wants to try to prove or disprove that, but I will get into that in another video. But anyway, we're trying to deal with the sugar cravings. In my opinion, when it comes to sugar cravings, you have to just bite the bullet, accept the fact that you lived the fun life and you had all those years of junk food, and even on your birthday and Christmas, it doesn't matter. I don't care what the day is. When you have to abstain from something like this, and it's something that you're addicted to, an addiction doesn't recognize that it's Christmas. An addiction doesn't recognize that it's your birthday. And an addiction doesn't recognize that it's a special occasion of any kind, or that you deserve a treat. That's like an alcoholic. Think about that. It's like an alcoholic convincing themselves, well, it's my birthday. What's one drink gonna do? They learn the hard way over the years that they can't think that way. They can't think that way when it comes to their addiction. You have to start thinking that way yourself. There's no such thing as artificial sweeteners, and it's a lesser evil because it still has virtually the same effect on your insulin. Yeah, your blood sugar may not go up, but your insulin's still gonna go up, and that's the problem we're trying to manage. More than that, it's keeping that sugar addiction alive, and we are trying to just stymie that. We want it gone. We want it a thing of the past. We want it off like a prom dress. We don't want anything in there that is gonna keep you addicted to sugar when it comes to your diet. Now that we know this and we have this established, there are no excuses. How do we move forward? Well, I recommend cold turkey. When you're dealing with an addiction, you have to go cold turkey. It's not the kind of thing you can wean yourself down most of the times. You don't hear about too many alcoholics and smokers or drug addicts who wean themselves down. And also pick a time frame. I mean, are we talking a week? Are we talking 3 days? Are we talking 3 months or 3 years? People want to negotiate when they're trying to cut out something they're addicted to. And they're always going to start tomorrow. They're always going to start next week, or at the first of the month, or at the first of the year. And you got to get out of that addictive mindset. You have to just take responsibility and cut it out. Stop negotiating with yourself. So to do this, you want to have a clean, whole food carnivore diet. You want to keep yourself full and satiated on the foods you can eat. You've knocked out one of your 3 macronutrients: proteins, carbs, and carbohydrates. Carbohydrates are the way of the dodo. We want nothing to do with them. So we're down to protein and fat. Protein's not the best fuel source, so you have to really increase your fat. More importantly, just stay full. Eat food you can eat. Have bacon, have steak, have eggs. Do what you can to stay full. I would stay away from foods like chicken and turkey in the first little while, unless you're trying to combat diarrhea, because they're not going to keep you satiated like those other foods will. And the more you're full, the less you're going to crave junk food. Stay full on the foods you can eat. I don't care if you're eating 5 or 6 pounds of meat a day. That's what I did. Stay full. You're never going to be able to overeat on a carnivore diet. You can eat and eat and eat. And you're going to find, no matter how much you eat, you're never going to think, oh, I can't eat anymore. What have I done to myself? You're not going to think that way. You're going to get to the point where you're like, I just can't eat anymore. And then you're not going to feel like you need a nap afterwards. You can just get up and go about the rest of your day. And I recommend staying full, thinking preemptively. Don't think to yourself, you know what, it's noon. I can eat now and I'm not going to eat again till later on tonight. Or maybe I won't eat at all today. Don't confuse your body. You're already dealing with one food addiction. Don't try and deal with starving yourself or doing OMAD or intermittent fasting in the beginning. Stay full. I also recommend keeping yourself distracted and keeping yourself busy. If you're worried about the withdrawal symptoms from cutting out sugar and carbohydrates, give yourself the weekend, a weekend where you have time to deal with any of the physical symptoms so that when you go back to work on, say, Monday, you're not going to be dealing with a bunch of headaches and just feeling generally rough like you might if you've ever cut out coffee. That's very similar to what it's like, but actually worse because this food is around you at your fingertips all day long. You really go through physical withdrawals in the first 3 days. Your blood sugar in your body might take up to a week to 2 weeks to balance out and react and learn how to adapt to your new way of eating. Now, it might take 2 or 3 weeks, even with diarrhea, before that goes away. But as far as feeling rough or feeling tired or your energy levels might be off, for me, typically it was a week. If you stay full on the food you're allowed to eat, it's usually gone within a few days. The physical symptoms are gone. And after that, you're just dealing with your brain convincing you that it's okay to have these foods, or convincing you that it's a special occasion, or what's one bite going to do? And that's when you fall off the wagon. So you have to avoid that thinking. It's negative thinking. You have an addiction. You have to accept the fact you have an addiction. I tried to negotiate with that fact for a long time. And it took me to the point where I went 5 months on a binge. And I mean almost straight on a binge for 5 months with nothing but junk food, ice cream and pizza, and the odd time I throw cake in there as a treat for 5 months straight for all my meals. It wasn't healthy. It's not good to do. And I did that, and I realized I had no control over this way of eating. I didn't want to do that. I was doing it because I had put my dog down and I was really upset, and I just was dealing with it with eating all sorts of junk food. I really love that dog. I think of her every single day. That dog meant the world to me, and I did not react well to that death. And it was really difficult, but I learned something from it. I learned how bad my addiction was in my relationship with food. It was not a good relationship. I already knew that, but I saw how far down and deep in that hole that addiction was. And unfortunately, I had to go through something like that before I realized how bad it was. And then all of a sudden, it just switched. And at that point, I had no desire to eat that food anymore because it was like an epiphany. I had this moment, I was beside myself, and I realized it was something that I had no control over. And I officially just submitted to the fact that I have an addiction, and it was worse than I could realize, and I can't moderate. I'm an abstainer. Lots of you people out there are abstainers. Some people are moderators and they think they're abstainers. You know, I'm an abstainer, but I can still have a bite of a cookie. I'm an abstainer, but I still have a bite of a cupcake when my kid offers it to me. It's okay if you can do that stuff and you're a moderator, but if you're doing that stuff 2 or 3 times a day, you're not an abstainer. You're not. You're a moderator, and that's fine. But just know where you are. Be honest with yourself. An abstainer can't risk having that food because if they do, they fall off the wagon. We don't want you to fall off the wagon if that's something you're dealing with. So after the first couple weeks pass, after that, you're really just dealing with the habits, getting rid of the habits out of your day-to-day routine, making sure that you don't fall into those habits around holidays, around get-togethers, on weekends, when you have downtime at the end of the day. Maybe it's when you start the day, you like to have junk food with your coffee, whatever it is. You have to recognize what your habits are and break them. Don't put yourself in those situations. If going through a drive-through when you get your coffee means you want to get something that's off a carnivore diet, maybe stay away from that drive-through and start bringing your own coffee to work. Not only are you going to save a lot of money, you're not going to put yourself in those tempting situations. Eventually, you're going to get to the place, and I always traditionally found for me about 3 months where you can become bulletproof, where you can sit in front of your favorite food and not really crave it. But that's only if you're strict. And like I always say, without a lick, taste, or bite of anything off a carnivore diet. So this video is good for anyone who is trying to up their carnivore game or anyone who's just trying to stay consistent with carnivore. I hope this video finds you well. Take care. Let me know how you're doing with your cravings. Are you an abstainer or a moderator? How did you find out? Leave a comment below. Thanks a lot and take care.